Oh, it's the theme music everybody universally loves across the board, and nobody dislikes it. And that means a brand new Village Vice. He's Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. And it's a brand new week, and we're that much closer to the first football game of the year. And Zach, we have seen a scrimmage. We've seen pads on. We've seen some tackling, and we've seen some young receivers going against young defensive backs. And I think that was the headline coming out of Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the future seems to be bright for the Auburn Tigers, and we already thought that, but it's nice to kind of see it come to fruition on the field. Look, Malcolm Simmons stole the show. He's the lead topic of every single Auburn-type thing that's happening right now. He's worthy of it. I mean, over 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was dynamic, and he did it in different ways. Brad, there's a lot to like, but he's not the only freshman receiver that is worthy of praise from this past weekend.
You're right. And I think Perry Thompson, were it not for Malcolm Simmons, would have been the talk of the scrimmage. He may now, I guess he had one official catch in the scrimmage.
It was like 1 for 60 or something like that.
So it was a big play, and that's pretty big. 1 for 60. That's maybe the difference in a game. But he had another ball that he caught in a one-on-one physical, like a perfect 50-50 ball scenario. And he went up and high pointed it, and he brought it down. He was out of bounds. Okay. It's a scrimmage.
Yeah.
You don't get points deducted for that in a scrimmage. It showed you the physicality, the poise, the body control, and the awareness that, maybe you don't expect from a guy who's been practicing football for a few weeks at the college level. Wasn't here in spring.
Sure.
And there were other points where, if a ball's thrown a little differently or a little earlier or a little, maybe even later, not earlier, but if it's just placed a little differently, he's able to go up and win a one-on-one matchup. And I just think that what we saw with our eyes, eye test, not the stats, but the eye test, that were it not for Malcolm Simmons, Perry Thompson would be the standout and who we're talking about coming out of the scrimmage offensively.
Yeah, and the coaches and the player, I talked to a few players after the scrimmage as well, and they don't really care about the stats. Everyone, I've talked to a few before they got graded and a few after they got graded, and everybody refers to, they don't talk about how many sacks or how many catches they had.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about how this coaching staff grades them. That's the true stat that matters when it comes to playing time and what your market share of reps at your position is going to be. Yeah. And like, for instance, like they're looking to see, okay, if this play was an incompletion and it looked like a bad throw by the quarterback, was the right route run, or was it really that bad of a throw? And a lot of the times it was a route issue, not a throwing issue. And so I think you could say the same with Perry Thompson, where if you look at all of his reps, it's like, sure, he had 1 catch for 60, which is exciting, but look at what he almost did. Look what he should be able to do in just a few weeks when the season starts. That's what matters. These players care more about what their grades are by the coaching staff than the stats that are kind of floating out there on various message boards, including thebarnauburn.com. Go sign up and subscribe today. But all in all, it's about the grades, Brad, and we aren't privy to what those grades are. That's an internal thing, but that's what the players care much more about. And it's a lot of that's going to be eye test, like you just said.
And I think that eye test is important. This next bit, by the way, is just for the Auburn people. We know that there's majority Auburn folks watching. We know there's some other fans who like to try and keep that. This next bit is not for the outside folks. So just mute us for just a couple of minutes, okay? This is just for the Auburn people.
Oh, okay.
This looked different.
Yeah.
Didn't it? For those of you who were there and saw it, you know it looked different. This wasn't, with all due respect, and we love these guys, this wasn't Tarvaris Dawson going off at A-Day. This wasn't Justin Fetzko having a great A-Day from a couple of decades ago. This wasn't even some of what we saw last year.
No, it's different from a year ago. I had a conversation one night last week with somebody within the program, Brad, and I asked them point blank, I'm like, are we going to be better than we were a year ago? And they laughed.
Yeah.
They laughed. Dude, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Anybody you talk to, they talk about how different it is now versus this time a season ago.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with your returning your quarterback. Head coach isn't, head coach Hugh Freeze has been here now. Guys understand what the expectations are. But physically, Brad, which I think is what you're alluding to, it's like physically having guys like Cam and Perry and Bryce and Malcolm, those are the youngest guys on the team.
Yeah.
And it's just physically, they're so much more mature and physically imposing than they were a season ago. It's not even close. It doesn't look like the same team.
And it's on top of the physicality, there's an awareness and a poise. The word is command, I think, that comes to mind. There's a command of their place on the field. Cam Coleman wasn't targeted very much in this scrimmage. Jarquez Hunter in the running game wasn't featured very much. I think that the objective of the scrimmage, and you tell me if this is fair or off base or just two orange and blue glasses or whatever, but Coach Freeze has talked about the importance of the young receivers and the importance of the young defensive backs this year and how critical they are to this team.
Yeah.
So I thought you saw the young receivers, the guys who, particularly Perry and Malcolm, the guys who hadn't been here for the spring, young receivers and young defensive backs. The running game wasn't a heavily featured portion of the scrimmage. I think you wanted to see some young pass rushers, young defensive backs, young wide receivers, what they did and what was their first day in full pads of the fall.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think the way some of the plays were drawn up, like it looked intentional to get Malcolm involved. And was this to say, hey, Malcolm Simmons, you've got a chance to be our number one receiver? I don't think so. There's a chance, but I doubt it. But I do think it was a chance to see, okay, Malcolm, if we get you involved in the offense, can you deliver? I think on Saturday he said, yes, I'm ready. Does this happen if KLS and Cam Coleman are a larger part of the offense? Probably not, because you've got to throw it to Cam Coleman and KLS, 4 or 5 times each every single game day. And so then everybody's kind of market share of receptions and targets, it goes down.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is we're talking about multiple weapons that we feel legitimately good about. This time a year ago, we overreacted to some fall scrimmages with the Shane Hooks excitement and all that. And I'm just not going to do that again. Yeah. But I do think what Malcolm Simmons did on Saturday was eye-opening, and maybe not for this year.
Yeah.
He might make it. He might make the cut and be a big part of this offense this season. I'm pulling for him, seriously, because that just means the future of Auburn's going to be even brighter. But the fact, worst case is Malcolm is your 5th or 6th best option. And you saw what he was able to do on Saturday. That's a good spot to be in, Brad. And that's a spot Auburn hasn't been in a minute.
No, you're right. Reminds me a little bit of Courtney Taylor. Courtney was a little bit bigger. Courtney was 6'2", about 210.
Sure.
But he could make plays inside, could make plays outside, could make plays, boundary side or toward the middle of the field. Really versatile and tough. And so that's kind of a 20-year ago comparison that comes to mind after watching Malcolm for the first time. And to his credit now, I heard people saying a couple of months ago, don't sleep on Malcolm Simmons. For all the hype that Cam and Perry are getting and Bryce to a degree, let's don't forget about Malcolm Simmons.
Bryce, 4 for 83 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
So let's don't act like he was, all of these freshmen had moments, Brad.
Yeah. Did Hugh Freeze go 4 for 4 with the Freeze 4?
Certainly seems like it.
Yeah. Certainly
seems like it. Yeah.
All right. Whether it's 4 for 4, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, you're going to be batting 1,000 when you go to BarnersSupply.com. Use our promo code VillageVice at checkout. Get 15% off. You can get a hat like this beauty right here. You have stickers. Look, our binder that I'll use for game day for our official broadcast, I'm going to have a Barner sticker right there on that binder. You can get all kind of gear at BarnersSupply.com. These are hardworking blue-collar people who believe, quite frankly, that Barner is not a derogatory term. It's not a put down. Barners are blue-collar workers. They're hard workers. They're people who believe in the Auburn creed. And this company in particular is using profits from their passion work as a ministry to others. We can get into that a little bit later on, maybe in the partnership, but I love these folks, love what they stand for, and their gear is top quality hats, koozies, stickers, other apparel. go to barnersupply.com, and then use promo code VillageVice at checkout. All one word, VillageVice. You'll get 15% off, and you'll support the show.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Brad, the defensive line, we saw them kind of stymie the rushing attack at A-Day.
Mm-hmm.
They stymied the rushing attack on Saturday in the scrimmage as well. Some of these defensive linemen are they're doing everything they can to make a statement to these coaches this fall camp.
Amaris Williams is one who stuck out to me. Did, I guess, most of his work with 2s on 2s, but a very quick first step and just a lot of power at the point of attack. Changed the line of scrimmage when he was in the game. I'm excited to see him for the future. Isaiah Rakes, man. Isaiah takes up a lot of space. He's a big guy, a big space eater, and can move, like, isn't moved very much. And so, boy, when you start thinking about building your defensive line from the inside out and the middle of your defensive line that isn't moved, now you allow your linebackers to come up and make plays. You allow your quarterback has to go one way or the other, maybe, if he can't step up. And, now Jalen McLeod and Kieran Crawford, who had a good day, and Amaris Williams and others have a chance to wreak some havoc. So I think I came away defensively most impressed with the defensive line and the fact they made it they just made it uncomfortable for the running backs and for the quarterbacks.
Yeah, defensive line was the position group I've been most concerned with. I said that throughout spring. I said it leaving spring. I said it going into fall camp. And to me, they've overachieved, I think. And they probably wouldn't say that, but as far as what my expectations were, I've been very pleased with what I've seen with the defensive line. The size, they look big enough to hold their own. They need a pass rusher to stand up, to step up to help Kieran Crawford and Jalen McLeod on the side, on the edges, and we'll see what happens with that. Can they get a Marcus Harris type impact from somebody?
Yeah,
that'd be huge. That would be a really, really big problem for opposing offenses. If a Phillip Bleedy or an Isaiah Rakes or a Jason Jones, Gage Keys, whoever it might be, steps up, we'll see. We'll certainly see what happens. Yeah, Amaris seems to be the true backup defensive end to Keldrick. Like, I think he is the true, like, if Keldrick needs to take a breather, or, if he tweaks something, has to, miss a series or something, like, I think Amaris is going to be the guy who's at strong side defensive end. And that seems to be pretty consistent with what we've even seen back in the spring. So, I mean, it's clear that they've been impressed with this freshman since day one.
I like, too, against a heavy passing team, a team that passes maybe 50-50 on first down, put him in early in a drive, in a first down type situation, and try to create a negative play early on in that, early in a possession. Yeah, just, again, another guy who has, like so many members of this freshman class, has a command of the position and doesn't seem to be put off by expectations or the learning curve of coming to college. Looks ready to come in and do some things. I thought in the secondary, Zach, without Keontae Scott, really full speed, we saw Antonio Kite in there. J.C. Hart had on the no contact jersey, but he was still out there some. Kay and Lee with a couple of good plays. I mean, the secondary, again, if you're looking for young guys to step up in the secondary, you had a chance to see what they could do Saturday. Yeah,
we've heard good things about Jay Crawford as well. Antonio Kite's the name that I think has kind of slid back a little bit, and I don't think anybody's saying anything negative about him. They're just not talking about him. Kay and Lee and Keontae Scott, J.C. Hart's gotten a lot of praise over the last week or so. How much of that is because of the video of the rep where he had the pass breakup against Perry Thompson? Like, did that help that? Like, it already felt like there was some positive momentum before that, but it really did seem like that amplified it a little bit. I didn't hear much about J.C. Hart's performance on Saturday. Did you notice anything that J.C. Hart did outside of wearing the non-contact jersey, Brad?
No, and whereas Kite had a pass breakup in the scrimmage, I don't know that J.C. registered any stats in there. I also don't know how many times they went
to
up
him
against him. Or to him.
That's usually telling too.
Yep. So,
you want your defensive backs to be kind of like offensive linemen. Like, you don't want to talk about them, because usually it's like so-and-so got burnt or so-and-so, had busted coverage. So Could be a good thing. Could be a good thing that you're not hearing about some of these guys outside of these specific highlights in practice. But once again, like similar to the receivers, like the options are just there. The options are there at almost every position group. That's plenty of reason to be excited.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So what's next in fall camp? Let's talk about that after. Look at that. Do you have the quarter zip on today?
I do.
I've
got the quarter zip on.
So smooth. Love that.
Yeah, rowback.com. Use promo code VICE to get 20% off your order. They've got super comfortable hoodies. They've got awesome quarter zips. I've got 2 of these, Brad. I love them. I think you've got multiple as well.
Yep.
They've got the collared shirts that are super, super comfortable and super, super sharp. They've got shorts. They've got hats. They've got all sorts of athletic wear, leisure wear, whatever it is, they've got you covered at rowback.com. Use promo code VICE for 20% off your order. Supports the show, and it'll support you because you're going to love everything from rowback.com. Use promo code VICE.
They have a VICE 20 at checkout. They have a
VICE 20. My bad.
Yeah, they have a polo that is, so they do this for most of the states where it's like the state outline over and over again.
Yeah.
Small. The one for Alabama is the wrong color. Once they get one that's navy blue, because we understand that Auburn's turning the state navy blue and orange. So I think it's fitting. Once they have that, I'm all over it. VICE 20 at checkout. I'll be ordering. So fall camp continues. I think, Zach, I think this week they're only in pads again. I think one more time. And you saw, like, I think Austin Keys, it was reported that he limped off the field at one point. You saw Keontae Scott not 100%. KLS was fully dressed and like running routes in the end zone, but just not going through the scrimmage. So this is the game. Like, Texas is without its starting running back. Texas A&M starting running back has gone down to injury. So you're at the point now, you've had a week plus of contact. Classes start, I guess, next week. So you've got less than 3 weeks before the first game. What is this team? What are you trying to accomplish this week in practice?
Well, staying healthy. I think you alluded to that, but also, all right, you've had these types of competitions and evaluation periods where, okay, who are some of these younger guys that are deserving of reps to actually get a real shot at some real playing time this season? I think that's part of it. I think you probably cut down on some of your other quarterbacks getting as many reps. Same with offensive line and same with your wide receivers. I mean, I think you're going to start to see a lot more attention go to your first and your second team guys, and then kind of playing with what those rotations look like. And I think you say, all right, we're going to put these freshmen in a situation to succeed, the ones who are ready right now, and then the ones who probably won't be ready until next year. We're going to kind of have different paths created for both of those guys because you're going to need them in 2025. So to me, I think you're going to give more reps to the guys that you think can help you win football games this year. And there's going to be more attention to kind of the starters and then maybe the next guy up at every spot.
Yeah. To that point, let me add another guy to the defensive line rotation. We saw constant rotation along the defensive front, but Malik Blockton was in that first group with Rakes and with Keldrick. So, I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it was telling, but I thought it was interesting. Again, it was the first one in pads, first scrimmage. You still got 3 weeks before kickoff, a lot to do, but I think they're going to count on Malik to play some snaps, to be a part of that rotation on the D-line.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot in dime, too, in pass rushing situations where maybe you've got Kieran and McLeod on the field at the same time, and you scoop Keldrick in or Amaris in. Malik Blockton is a guy who's on that defensive front early in the rotation whenever they go to dime. So third and long situations, you may see more Malik Blockton, which tells me they like him as a pass rusher, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so they have they'll scrimmage again on Saturday, and then that's it. Like, that's the last scrimmage. It'll be 2 weeks before kickoff.
We're so close.
I know.
Gosh, we're so
getting
close.
There.
Yeah, we get an open viewing window Thursday. I think it's Thursday or Friday. It's one of those two. So later in the week, we get one, and so we'll obviously discuss that after that happens. But Yeah, this group, there's positive buzz around it. The buzz is getting outside of Auburn, which is interesting. We're kind of in a spot where we haven't been in a few minutes, where you're starting to see more folks say, hey, watch out for Auburn. There's exciting things happening on the plains. Watch out for Hugh Freeze's squad. It's just nice. It's just refreshing. So we'll see all that kind of continue to swell up over the next few weeks. But Brad, that does it for today's show, unless you got one more thing.
But yeah, before we go, tell everybody about thebarnauburn.com and all the exciting things that have happened since the launch and that are happening as we get closer to kickoff.
Yeah, thebarnauburn.com. Go ahead and sign up. The first month is just $1. You also can buy a full year for a discounted rate of I think it's $99.99. But be sure to check it out. Thebarnauburn.com. It's Auburn's newest message board, and we've got tons of scoop. I mean, you didn't have to go to the scrimmage on Saturday. Yeah. You would have felt like you were there with the coverage that Kyle did, also known as Charlie 5. I dropped a nugget on some of the quarterback grading in there earlier today. And so be sure to check that out. That's thebarnauburn.com.
All right. Thanks for liking the show, subscribing, commenting. Keep telling folks about Village Vice. We'll be with you several times this week. Everybody has vices. Yes, they do. Everybody has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.